Alright, hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Minnick, also known as AceBabieee on Instagram, AceBabieee, don't forget the 3 E's. So this is my first in the bag video, so bear with me, maybe a little slow and a little longer than if I were practiced. But anyway, I've had this by popular request and I'm very happy to finally do one. So, love this bag, very excited about it, and I'll talk about the bag a little bit more later, but for now we will just dive in with the discs. Alright, so my main putter and favorite putter currently is the Reko. I got this amazing dyed disc from Dyeing to Disc Off. Dyed this to me for me and sent it to me, so I have the Reko, and that's the K1 line. Love this putter, and I actually tried the putter plastic, but I just didn't like it as much. I really like the feel and kind of the gumminess of the Reko K1 line. And then I also have the K1 line that's like a little bit, this one feels like a little bit soft. Well, I have a soft one somewhere, but anyway, a little bit softer. So I have 2 of the Rekos here, and then I also have a Reko X right here. So sometimes if it's just a little bit windier or uphill or something like that, I may, or downhill I guess, I may putt with the Reko X. So those are my main putters, but then I also have, over here I still have my Fierce, which is very flippy. So a lot of times I'll use this for patent pending, Anheuser lines to get to the basket. In fact, I did that just yesterday in the tournament and it turned out beautifully. So it still holds the line decently well. So I still really like the Fierce, and I have putted with it even more recently. This was my main putter originally. Great disc, just a little flippy. Right here we have, I got this from someone, I'm going to try to remember what it is. It's the GT Banger or Banger GT, I forget which one it is, but I've recently started using this. I got it not too long before Worlds, and it's more of a flick approach shot and just kind of settles pretty well, so trying that one out. It's kind of gotten me in trouble a little bit. You'll see here in a bit I have a lot of discs that I use as approach flick discs, and that's a problem just because sometimes they're very different discs and they behave differently, and so sometimes it gets me into trouble because I'm switching between all of these discs and they fly differently and they have, you know, different touch to them. So I'm getting used to that. It has got me in trouble a good number of times in rounds, but you know, we're learning to figure it out. I love testing new discs. I have 32 discs here in this bag and a couple others that I'm going to show you. So I have a lot of discs. I love trying new discs. You'll figure that out if you haven't already. So another flick approach shot, I usually mostly just use this for flick, but I also putt with the Berg. I love the Berg by Castoplast. One reason why I love it is because it's fairly glidey, but it sets very well. So if you're putting and there's like a hill behind and you don't want it to go down the hill, then I'll putt with the Berg because it'll do a much better job of having that glide, but then just dropping on the ground and it's much less likely to roll than a lot of my other discs. Speaking of not rolling, I do have here in the back a koi, and I just got this recently when I originally wanted this disc. Sorry, my bag's about to fall. When I originally wanted this disc, it was out of stock. Last year, 2 days after Thanksgiving, I played a tournament and someone had the koi, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting disc. It's very flexy. So, I like this disc. This one also, it's very unique to throw. You know, your grip on it is a lot different than normal, but this one also does a good job of just settling down on the ground and not rolling and getting away from you. So if it's really intense situations in which, you know, maybe I'll get myself in a situation where I'm going to 3-putt or 4-putt even, then, you know, maybe I'll break out the koi. I haven't much yet, but it is a very useful utility disc to have in the bag. So the Berg, the koi, then next I'll talk about my Praxis. Actually, I'll put this koi back in the bag. Well, we'll just take all the discs out as I use them. So the Praxis is one of, I haven't been using it as much recently, but it is probably my all-time favorite disc. It's, first of all, it's gorgeous, and I love beautiful discs. And second of all, it just holds the angle that you put it on really well. I have used this disc for backhand, for sidearm. I've even thrown like a pretty long distance Anheuser flick for like over 200 feet, and it's just held the line all the way down at some of those, you know, unique shapes, hole shapes. So I've really liked the Praxis by Thought Space. Super nice disc. I cannot state that enough. I've told so many people about this disc. I absolutely love it, and no, they are not sponsoring me, and they're not giving me any money or anything. I wish they would, because I love their disc and I talk about it all the time. So Thought Space, you know, consider that. All right, so that's the Praxis. Already talked about the Berg. Now we're going to go to the Zone. I mean, it's kind of hard to have an in the bag video without a Zone. It's just a great disc. Cupcake there. So this is the FLX Zone, the Swirl, and this was my first Zone ever that I got, and I mean, it just works like a Zone, you know, it's very stable, kind of does what you would want a disc to do. A lot of times, you know, my pro shots, I'll put some Anheuser on it or just go straight to the basket, and it's all around very solid approach disc, and obviously can be used for backhand as well if you definitely want that stronger fade at the end. I love my Zone. All right, next we will go with, oh, actually this is a new disc. I had to get this disc, and I haven't used it a lot, and I've just used it in tournaments. I didn't get it a very long time ago. It was just right before it was right before D-Glow, actually. I got it from Glide. So I got the Polecat, and I know there are people either apparently hate this disc or they absolutely love this disc. I think it's a little bit more like a lid, like an Ultimate Frisbee disc, which I come from an Ultimate Frisbee background, so it makes sense that, you know, maybe I would like it a little bit more. It is fairly flippy from my limited experience. I'm not sure if I will continue to keep it in my bag, but so far I like it pretty well. You know, I have so many different discs that I'm trying. It's hard to tell whether in, you know, a few months I'll like it, but I think it's a good disc. Again, don't know if I'll keep it in my bag. Pretty flippy. The numbers are 1300. You will not hear me talk about flight numbers much. Like, I know in general, you know, what they mean and everything, but I just find that really you need to throw a disc. The flight numbers kind of give you a general baseline for maybe how a disc will fly, but in the end, they can be pretty different from manufacturer to manufacturer. So anyway, that's the Polecat. You can see, kind of, actually a little bent right now, but I don't think it matters that much. So at this point, I'll talk just a little bit about this bag. So one thing that I love about this bag, and I'm going to talk about this bag a lot, is that it has a lot of different compartments and sections for all of the discs, which is amazing for keeping track of your discs and not losing any of them. So I know that here in this side pouch, which is removable, all of these 4 side pouches, this pouch, the disc pouch here and here, and then also the water pouches on the side, all 4 of those are removable, and then you're just left with kind of this base, which is a MOLLE attachment system. Very cool. First ever truly completely modular disc golf bag. Love it. But anyway, it's very easy to keep track of your discs. So before, when I would have a round, you know, I've forgotten discs on holes enough time that after every single hole at the end of it, I would try to make sure I remembered to count all of my discs to make sure that I didn't leave one behind. With this bag, it makes it so much easier. I didn't realize how much I would love this feature about the bag until I actually got it and used it a few weeks ago. But where it's like there's 5 here, 3 here, I mean, I'm kind of like stuffing it to the limit, you know, and it still doesn't feel that heavy to me. But there's, you know, at most 5 in any given section, and so it's very easy to be like, oh, there aren't 4 discs in that section, you know, something looks off. To the eye, it's very easy to see that and tell if you're missing a disc, so that's useful. So this I'm taking from here, which there should probably be no more than 2 or 3 discs in this section, but I'm kind of stuffing like 4 discs in all of those sections. So anyway, that's a Polecat. People love it or hate it, I guess. I don't really care what other people think, I just care what I think. But anyway, I mean, that's not entirely true. I care what other people think, but you know, in terms of whether I like or enjoy a disc or not. I love this disc. Mostly, I mean I love it because it's a Buzzz, and the Buzzz is a fantastic disc, obviously. But look at that design, look at that dye job. Isn't that beautiful? That's how I bought it. And then the backside, you know, get my number. I don't want to give everyone on the internet my number. That'd be a bad day. Anyway, so this is Paul Macbeth, 5-time world champion discraft, ESP Buzzz. It's so beautiful. I almost lost this in Montana, and it's going to be a very sad day. And I literally waded in the water in this little reservoir thing that I had no idea there was water in it when I threw my disc, and I was just kind of warming up. And I searched in that reservoir for almost an hour and a half and did not find either of the 2 discs that I lost, but I found 3 other discs. And then it ended up that one of the guys that I found their disc, they actually had found my 2 discs while I was playing the round, and then I came back and searched. So anyway, Buzzz, awesome. You know it's gonna, it's not too flippy. It's just gonna kind of like hold that line and then fade at the end. Next is the Mongoose. You can probably already tell a little bit why I got this disc, because it's so beautiful. And then the same thing on the back, you have that cool design. That's mecha dyes, I guess. So this is the Mongoose by Legacy Discs. This is a very flippy disc. So this is more, you know, mid-range kind of things where I want the disc to kind of turn over. I haven't used it as much, but I have used it both for flick and for backhand. Again, kind of more utility disc. I don't use it all the time, but I do really like that disc, and it's just so pretty. Alright, now we will go to this side. I have 5, you guys are going to be like, she is crazy. She has like way too many mid-ranges and putters, but I do end up using all of them at some point. So maybe eventually I'll get more to where it's like, oh, I'll kind of stick to less discs in my bag. And I could do that, but I just don't want to. So now you get to hear me talk for like 3 hours about all the discs in my bag. Alright, so this disc I have had in my bag since the very beginning. It was given to me by the person that got me into disc golf, towards the end of 2020. And I have gotten 2 aces. My first ace disc is right here, and this is my second ace disc. They were both, I got both of my aces within like the first year of playing disc golf. It was like right about the year mark. They were both in tournaments and less than a week apart. This particular ace was at Glenwood Park in West Virginia. It was hole 10, so it's like an island hole and a water carry hole. So that one was pretty exciting. And yeah, so this is a Maco 3. Sorry, I didn't say that yet. It's a Maco 3, and I know this is kind of crazy, but I have 3 Maco 3s. So these are all Maco 3s. Well, actually, sorry, this is a Maco, and then these are Maco 3s. So this one's was a little more stable. Both of these are almost kind of getting to be similar, but they have a very different feel, and the feel does matter to me on throws. So depending on the hole that I'm at, I will choose one or the other, and they do fly differently. But maybe some people would be like, they're not different enough to really matter. And this is the Maco, and this one is definitely the most flippy. I use both of these discs a lot. This one I use a lot more for backhand, and this one I use a lot more for flick. And this disc I don't really even do a disc off throw really, but I do a lot of kind of pitch up right to the basket and kind of sit it right under the basket or let it slide up a little bit. So I use all three of these discs a decent amount. All right, now on to the last, I think the last two mid-ranges in my bag. So this is a Svea. I think maybe I'm saying that right. I like it just because, well, I got it for a few reasons. One, I love Castoplast. They're awesome. They have amazing colors. Like this color in particular is the first disc that I got that was this apple green, whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called exactly. But this is the K1 Soft. I really like the feel. It's very gummy. I like Castoplast. I like their brand, Castoplast and Thought Space both. I like what they're doing. And this is very flippy. It's a lot more flippy than what I was expecting. I bought this, put it directly in my bag, and then I threw it multiple times in that round. It was literally like the day after I bought it or the day of, which happens a lot since I play a lot of tournaments and I don't have a whole lot of time to practice in between, sometimes not at all. And yeah, this is a fun disc. If you want it to go flat, then you're definitely gonna have to release it at like quite the hyzer angle. But yeah, I really like this disc and how it flies. I don't think I've figured it out completely yet, and we'll see if I keep it in my bag. I think I will, because I believe this is a unique flight and a more unique disc to my bag. So like that one. And then finally we have the Hex by Axiom disc FPP. Really love the colors on this disc. This disc was given to me right after Tennessee State by Felix from Ace Run Pro guys. So thank you so much. I got to play a practice round with them. And then I was like, oh, that's such a pretty disc. He was like, well, if you can throw it, if you like, you can have it. So he gave it to me. So thank you, Felix. I love this disc. I actually used it the next tournament after that, and I parked multiple holes with this disc. It just flies very straight, holds the line well, and kind of sits, and it'll kind of fade a little bit at the end, but I mean it's fairly flippy. But I just love how it holds the line, and this is a fantastic disc for just those tunnel shots and stuff like that. All right, so we've already gone over these discs. All right, finally we're to the main section of the bag. All right, so there's kind of I'll have my lovely assistant here come in and show a little bit into the bag. All right, so I actually right now have this like massage gun, Theragun, it's awesome, in the middle there. I don't usually keep that in the middle, but I have a few towels. I have the flight towel. I actually got that at Am Worlds. I really like using this flight towel. If you don't have one, then get one. It actually has this little pocket here that gives you more resistance because the air picks up in this pocket. So it's really good for practicing your backhand. And then I have some nuts and some, little bands and some lady products and stuff. So that's like the main square or kind of rectangle pocket right there. And then the only pocket that has a hook, I keep, like keys and rangefinder. I'm very excited because this coming weekend is Ledgestone, and I've never played in it before, and I am getting the rangefinder. I believe it's going to be red, so I'm super excited. This one I bought from a friend. He was very kind and gave it to me for a good deal, but it's only in yards, and sometimes it's a little finicky, so I'm very excited to get my new rangefinder. So in here there are two pockets for minis. So this one I have my final participant for Am World since I got into the finals, and then the main mini that I use. This one I don't want to use because it's glass and I don't want to break it. It's really cool. And then two phone pockets on the side. It's really cool. And then two other little pockets. I have like nail clippers on one side and like chapstick on the other side. And then these aren't actually pockets, but you can easily stick like multiple pens or markers kind of up on the side here. This is the rain fly. I'll talk about it a little bit more later. All right, so now to get into the main section. So kind of moving up from the mid-ranges, I would say my next disc closest to that would probably be the Passion. And you can tell why I got this disc. I got this from Joe's Throws. Or sorry, Throw Joe's. My bad. It's like right there on the back. And he did an amazing job of dyeing this disc. Absolutely love the Passion. It actually flies pretty far. I'm not sure. It's like an 8 speed, but sometimes it wants to fly farther than my drivers. But it kind of has the feel of in between a driver and a mid-range. And I don't use this extremely often, but if I want a disc to go like fairly straight, you got to give it decent power, and then it'll have that fade at the end. But I like the Passion. It's a pretty well-made disc. Next, we will go with my other Ace disc. This is a disc I use pretty much entirely to flick with, and I am pretty sure that this is a F5 by Prodigy. Love this disc. It just flies so well. I found that there are certain discs that just don't fly very well for the flick or the forehand, it's just whether it doesn't come off right from the fingers or whatever it is. But this is another disc. It's my first Ace disc. It was at the Battle for Bedford at Falling Creek, hole 9. Back last year. And it just flies, like I said, it flies really well. It feels great in the hand. It's a good release, and not all discs will work well as more of a flick disc. So I'm gonna grab a couple discs at this point and just say some of the discs that I feel like have worked better for flicking. And I also have found recently, I started out using only max weight discs, so I guess maybe I should have talked a little bit about some of my discs and if they're not max weight. I would say still the majority of my discs are max weight, and that's mostly because the person who got me into disc golf was like, oh, max weight, max weight. I don't think he quite understood exactly how that works with women, so it is much better on the muscles. Like, you're much less likely to injure yourself, especially as a female, if you can get less discs that are not as heavy, not as much weight, because then you can kind of transfer more of the momentum and you're not getting as much strain on the muscles and arms. So this is a good flick disc. I just purchased this disc, a used disc from, I don't know, like Throw It Against Sports or something. This is a, kind of hard to see, but it's a Starlight, I think it's a Valkyrie. Yeah, it's a Valkyrie. But this one's 150, so it's definitely a lot lighter, and this one has been an amazing flick disc. I just started using it for flicking, and it flies so beautifully. So love this disc for that. I've also used it some for backhand, but not much, mostly just for flicking. The same thing with this. This one I definitely use a lot more for backhand, but this is the Star Wraith. Love my Wraith. I have multiple Wraiths. I'll talk about them more, so I'll put this one back in. But this one also is decent for flick, but not as good, because that one I think again is much closer to max weight. It's another good flick disc. This one also been in my bag for a while. This disc is like not replaceable. This is a Champion Valkyrie. It is so old, so gummy beat in, and I also recently found out that this is an amazing flick disc. Put like maybe a little bit of hyzer on it and just kind of let it flip up, and then it just sails and just keeps going on, forever. I'll also use it for turnover backhands for sure. So this is just a fantastic disc. So Valkyrie, Champion Valkyrie, Starlight Valkyrie, all great for flicking. The F5, and next we'll go to some that are still more like flippy. So one of my all-time favorite discs is the Star Roadrunner. This one's also lighter weight. This one doesn't say on it, but absolutely love the Roadrunner. It has been, when I first started working on my backhand, I was always throwing nose down, so it was pretty easy to like flip up, like figure out how to flip up these discs. I didn't do as many Annie backhands, but this was just such an amazing disc that I really had a good feel for, and it just feels so great in the hand. So that's the Star Roadrunner. I've also used this for flick a little bit more recently, but more of a backhand disc. This was the first disc that was ever given to me by, I will say, someone or a company that like I didn't know or wasn't associated with at all. So that was the Lake Marshall Open. Thank you to Fly High Disc for my first ever diamond. Also lighter weight diamond. This one's 156 grams. Love the diamond. Has a beautiful flip up. So this is another good disc. I would say the diamond is a little more flippy than the Roadrunner, to me anyway. I can also flick with this disc as well, especially like the lighter weight, but mostly done backhand. I used it more like a month ago, and I would say recently I haven't used it as much, but that's not because I don't think it's a good disc. It's just because I've gotten so many other new discs that I have kind of forgotten about this disc sometimes, that it's in my bag. Alright, so next we will go with this lovely disc. It's not signed because it's an Ace disc. I got a bunch of people from Am Worlds to sign this disc. I bought this disc used. I never knew that this type of plastic existed, but it is a Blizzard Champion Destroyer. Very lightweight. And this is actually the disc that I threw at Am Worlds for the long distance or long drive competition, and I threw 360 feet essentially. So really cool disc. It's, even though I got it used, it's actually been more flippy recently. Like, it's become more flippy even since I got it, and was already very, very beat up when I got it. So I haven't, it's kind of been like turning it over a lot recently. So maybe I need to start putting a little bit more hyzer on it. But I've also had some, in fact, it was actually the very last round, last hole at Am Worlds, hole 18, I got stuck behind a tree, and the only thing I had was like a run-up Annie flick line, and it was way down a hill, and this thing just sailed. It was beautiful. So this is a great backhand and flick disc, especially since it's like lighter weight. Again, I don't know exactly what the weight is. I don't think it says on here, but this is one of my favorite discs. I hope I never lose it. Alright, next. Okay, so I found this also. I don't think this one was used, but I found this at a random store that just happened to, like a sports store that happened to have discs. It's also a Blizzard Champion, but it's a Boss, and I'd never thrown the Boss before, and I was like, okay, it's like a 13 speed, and it has, you know, similar numbers to the Destroyer, so I was like, well, I'll try that out. So I like this disc. It flies pretty well. I haven't used it a whole lot yet, but it definitely will. It won't, at least not yet. It won't flip over like the lighter Destroyer will. So this one will kind of go straight, and then at the end it dumps hard. Currently, again, that may change as I throw it more, and I maybe throw it into a few trees and throw it into the rocks, whatever. You do what you gotta do. Alright, so this disc, I still have not thrown much. I threw it at my last tournament for one of the holes, but it's really not beaten yet, so I think it may become a little more flippy over time. I mean, the numbers are 7601, so it should probably end up being fairly flippy, but it just does a great job of holding the line, and it dumps pretty hard left currently. I don't know if that's how it'll stay, we'll see. It's a fairway driver, it's the FD by Discmania, and I'm going to say this wrong, it's like full, I'll put it in the comments, but anyway, this was dyed for me by Baines and his company. and got this cool design. So I like this and definitely want to start using it more. I'm getting to a point in which I want to use more fairway drivers as opposed to distance drivers on certain shots, and I think this disc will actually fill a pretty important spot in my bag once I test it out a little bit more and get a better feel for this disc. Alright, so now we're going to go with the Wraiths. So I have 3 Wraiths, and this one is in my disc bag. These 2 are by my favorite disc dyer, Pastry Dyes. Doesn't he just do an amazing job? I absolutely love this. So I'm actually at High Stand, which is one of the courses that we played for U.S. Women's Disc Golf Championship at the very end of June. And actually at this course was my highest rated round ever, and my lovely filming assistant here was actually got to see part of it, and I got 8 birdies, shot a 7 down, almost saved the 1 bogey that I got, but unfortunately not. But that round ended up being a 953 rated round, which is very cool, and apparently that was underrated. Like, it should have actually been rated, you know, like 20 points more than that. So that's pretty cool. So this course is kind of a special course for me. But the Pastry Guy's dice, that he lives, I think, just like an hour and a half away from here. So it's pretty cool. So I'm near to where these were made. So both Wraiths, so all 3 of these are Wraiths. This one, he actually, so I want to give a little shout out to him. So I met the Pastry Dyes guys originally at the Battle for Bedford, which was where I got my very first ace with this disc, flip line. And I got the 1 ace, and then the next week I got my 2nd ace, or less than a week from there. Hold on. Get away. Sorry, there was like a bug like in the thing. Anyway, I got both aces, and neither, so my 2 aces I've ever gotten, they did not have an ace pot at either tournament. And so at US Women's, I was telling this guy, like, yeah, I think I met you at Battle for Bedford, and then we were talking, and I was like, yeah, I got an ace, and there wasn't an ace pot, and he was like, man, I wish I would have known, you know, I could have given you a disc. And I was like, well, you know, it's never too late. So he ended up actually giving, he was like, well, you know, like, what disc do you like? And I said a Wraith, and he saw this one, and this is a Nathan Queen Glow Wraith, and it is just so gorgeous, and it glows really, really well. And we have like let me cover that. We have the Pastry Dyes on the back, super cool. I love what they do. But anyway, this disc is very stable, so it's not a disc that I would throw as often. It's probably more like a Destroyer, or maybe even more stable than probably not more stable than a Destroyer, but anyway, it's very stable. And I threw it, and I told him, I was like, hey, this is really stable. And I don't think he believed me. He didn't realize that, you know, I got these like guns. And so anyway, actually it's form. It's form. Form is everything. But, you know, I kid. So I threw this disc, and then he threw it later, and he was like, yeah, you're right, like, that is, you know, really stable. But I already had this disc at that point. He was like, well, I think I have another like Wraith that is less stable, this one. And I saw Calvin Heimberg at US Women's, and so I think this is actually like the only signature pro that I got at US Women's. It was from a man, which is kind of funny. Whatever. But anyway, he's also a chemical engineer, and so, you know, chemical engineers got to stick together, so let's go Calvin. So this is Ken Climo, Star Wraith, and this one is amazing. I've thrown this disc a lot of times, and it also looks amazing, makes me happy and smile every single time I see it. So thank you, Pastry Dyes guy. And then I got this like half off, so super awesome. And then I actually ended up winning like another disc of his in a raffle, so I have 3 of his discs currently. Yay! All right, and then this one is it is more flippy than all of these. So this is kind of level of stability. used the turn as much recently, but I really, this one holds the line and doesn't flip over. This is a star turn. Also one of my favorite discs. This filled an important spot for me because I was getting to a point to where the Roadrunner was, you know, much too flippy, and obviously the Destroyer was too stable, so I kind of needed something in between. So the turn was the first disc that filled that slot for me, and then the Wraith kind of, you know, slipped in and became a little more used and valuable, if you will, in my bag than the turn, but still a really great disc. And this is a little more stable turn. All right, I have one other turn, and super pretty. So I actually got this because I gave this, someone contacted me about this random lady like in the area, and she wanted some lessons, and so I was like, yeah, you know, I'll give you a lesson and everything. And I wasn't trying to get paid for it or anything, so I was just there, and she said, oh, I'd really like to get you a disc. And I was like, no, you know, you don't need to worry about that. And she was kind of like insistent about it. I was like, okay, you know, well, I think I knew I needed some discs, but I just didn't know what discs that I needed, because I wasn't as familiar with all of the discs out there yet. And I did know that I like turns, and I was like, well, I like pretty discs, so, you know, maybe I can send you a couple discs to get. So this is the disc that she ended up getting me, and this is a beefy turn. Like, it's very beefy, and it flares super well. So I love this disc if I really want it to hold the line, but it also is a great flare disc. So if you like want to purposefully kind of angle the disc towards the ground and have this big, you know, skip around, like hit and go around a very tight, you know, kind of 90-degree turn, then this is the disc to use. And I have used this disc in a tournament to do that before, and it works fabulously. All right, final two discs. I know this has been super long, but you know, you asked for it, so this is me. All right, so this is another Axiom disc. Again, pretty disc. This is the Tenacity, and I got this the second day of Am Worlds from Sun King Discs. I think Mike owns it. Anyway, nice guy. This is how it came. It was dyed like this, and I put this in my disc in my bag right away, and I used it the next day at Am Worlds, and I used it on multiple holes, and it worked fabulously. It's a 13 speed, so it goes really far. I just kind of crushed it. It only failed me on one hole, and it wasn't really the disc. It was like this insane headwind, and like almost everyone's discs turned over and went OB. So anyway, I like this disc, especially if I'm wanting to go get the disc to go pretty far, and especially if, like I said, it usually does a pretty good job of holding the line. Another thing that it does is if there's a fairway in which I think there's a good chance that it could end up going through some brush or some trees, then this disc does a really good job of pushing through and getting through branches and bushes and stuff like that, and getting kind of to the other side. Would not really want to use this for a flick disc. It's much too like heavy, beefy, and then just the rim is really thick. And then my last disc is the Falk. I like that because you can say what the Falk, which is terrible but hilarious. Anyway, it's Castoplast. Love Castoplast. This disc is awesome. Does a great job of holding the line and really just dumps heavy at the end for me. Again, that may change as I use it more and I beat it in, but I love the feel of this disc. I know some people don't like their discs to be kind of this gummy and this flexible, but I don't know, just sort of feel, these discs kind of feel like they fit in contour to my hand, and I really like that about these discs. So that's my in the bag video. I actually did have a couple more discs here. I will talk about them. I say quickly, we'll see. I have the PA1 punted approach disc. I got this from the Glide store, used for a few dollars, so that was awesome. Use this in windy conditions to putt or approach shots a great disc. This is the Fuse by Latitude 64, and very flippy kind of mid-range. I don't currently bag either of these, but I have bagged this at other times. I may put it back in my bag, we'll see. Got this from the College Disc Golf Nationals. Was my first destroyer ever that I bought. I waited to get a destroyer until I felt like I had earned a destroyer in my bag. You know, I felt like I needed to get to a certain point with my form and with my power to like have a destroyer, and so I felt like I was there at College Nationals, and I ended up throwing this disc at College Nationals and getting a birdie with it. So that's nice. Like, this is a Star Destroyer, and it's 173 grams, so we'll have here. All right, this is a flare, and it does exactly what it says. It is quite the beefcake, and I have used this. It's purely a utility disc. I don't currently bag it, but probably will bag it again. But I've used it usually for forehand rollers. And again, all of these discs, sometimes, you know, maybe I'll use it for a forehand roller. The Champion Valkyrie, the really gummy one. This one I'll use for tomahawks from time to time if I ever get in a rough situation. It just kind of goes straight. So like that disc, utility disc. And anyway, that's it for now. Hope you liked it. If you're still here and you've listened this whole time, then thank you. And I'll start a new video to talk a little bit more about this amazing bag. Anyway, bye.